Given that Unitarian Universalists believe in the inherent worth and dignity of all people, not just Black people, why should we say Black lives matter rather than all lives matter? To answer this question, we must first draw a distinction between a faith stance and a description of reality. Then we need to clarify how we can tell that someone's life matters. Finally, we have to demonstrate that Black lives don't matter much in the United States today and never have. The question then becomes, what can we do? All along, it's important to recognize that while we have the best possible intentions, systemic racism has very little to do with intentions and a lot to do with outcomes that are larger than our individual lives. So first, the difference between an affirmation of faith and a description of reality. When we say all lives matter, are we making a statement based on what we believe, for example, the first principle, or are we saying that reality demonstrates that all people are treated as though they matter? Clearly, the phrase all lives matter represents a belief, a claim, a trust that contrary to all visible evidence, all lives do matter, or at least they will matter in the world for which we strive. Faith stances are necessary, but not sufficient. Here's the problem. There's something in the claim that all lives matter that smacks of colorblindness. Colorblindness is often well-intentioned, that word again, an attempt to see everyone as a human being and therefore the same without paying much difference to race and other traits that seem like they should be extraneous. We imagine that Dr. King envisioned a colorblind future when he voiced his hope that his 4 children would be judged on the content of their character rather than the color of their skin. Colorblindness is problematic, however. It misses the full reality of who we are as people. We are each individuals with our own life experiences and our own particular ways of making sense of those experiences. We are human beings, sharing common needs and able to offer certain common blessings to each other. So far, so good. Our individuality seems to point back to Dr. King's comment about the content of our character. Our commonality as human beings seems to fit the assumption of colorblindness. We all are the same. But we are not just individuals and human beings. We are members of social groups that get valued differently from one another and treated differently from one another. Women are underrepresented in government and in executive positions. Women are much more likely to be raped than men. Heterosexuals rarely get gay bashed unless they are mistaken for being gay. And Black people are treated less well than white people in many parts of life precisely because they are still judged on the color of their skin. Colorblindness has no way to address the reality that our group identities lead to different treatment. In fact, it's worse than that. If society is colorblind, then any difficulty someone faces are their own fault, since we're all individuals. All those women getting raped must have asked for it. All the violence against sexual minorities wouldn't happen if they didn't flaunt it. And Black people wouldn't keep getting shot if they weren't hoodie-wearing thugs. Colorblindness is, among other things, a way to blame the victim. Once we reject colorblindness as an accurate description of society, we can start talking realistically about the evidence that Black lives don't matter much in the United States and respond to that fact. What does it mean to matter? How do you know that you matter? How do you know that your life matters and that society values your existence and wants it to continue? Here are 2 answers. You have access to all the basic resources you need, and you are not in any more danger of being physically harmed or killed than anyone else. You can breathe clean air, you can drink clean water, you can eat healthy food. You have a warm place to live, you have access to affordable health care, you live in a neighborhood with little or no violent crime. No one will beat you up without there being some consequences for it. Do Black people in the U.S. today see evidence that they matter, that their lives matter? Personal stories and statistics suggest the answers are negative. The situations below may not be universal to absolutely every Black person, but they are so common as to be well-documented social patterns. Black people are less likely to be shown apartments and homes in certain neighborhoods, are more likely to be offered the highest risk mortgages. They're more likely to live in segregated neighborhoods with poorer housing, failing schools, and inadequate municipal services. They have lower quality food in their grocery stores, fewer banks, which are made up for by expensive check cashing outfits, less information about potentially high-paying jobs, more concentrated poverty, and more violence. And there's not much a lot of them can do to change this. Since their homes are worth less than homes in white suburbs, they're accruing less equity, and the property tax base in their neighborhoods doesn't pay for good quality schools. Black people hear that Jews are never to forget the Holocaust, that Americans are never to forget Pearl Harbor or 9/11. But if they, Black people, bring up or are playing the race card, or acting like victims if they bring up slavery, the failure of Reconstruction, lynching, Jim Crow, the violent repression of voting rights in the South in the 60s, or today's mass incarceration of people of color. If a Black person sends in a resume for a job, they are only half as likely to get an equally qualified white person to receive a callback, let alone a job offer. A white person just released from prison has as good a chance to get a particular job as a Black person with no criminal record. Black people need more education than white people to receive equal consideration for the same job. Black people know that certain states are trying to restrict their voting rights, and that the Supreme Court is letting those states get away with it. Black people in Los Angeles may know that South Central LA has one primary care physician for every 1,300 residents. The nearby white town of Bel Air has one for every 214 residents. Similarly, in Southeast Washington, D.C., there's one pediatrician for every 3,700 kids, while nearby Bethesda has one for every 400. A Black person may well be given less pain treatment at the doctor than a white person would be, and a Black person experiencing a heart attack is less likely than a white person to receive best care practice. Even upper middle class Black men who teach or study at prestigious universities are not offered protection against police suspicion toward them or mistreatment of them. Some years back, a Black television producer was made to sit on the curb handcuffed in his suit because he was bald. And a bald Black man had just committed a crime not far from there. A Black person's trip to a department store is likely to result in being followed by security, and a trip to an expensive jewelry store may result in the person simply not being allowed in. Black men are more likely than white men to be stopped by the police because they fit the description of a criminal. They are more likely to be arrested, charged, and convicted than white men, and if convicted, usually face a longer prison sentence. Black men born in 2001 have a 1 in 3 chance of being incarcerated at some point in their lives, up to 6 times the chance of a white man born in the same year. White people can open carry a gun and not get shot, point guns at police officers and not get shot, and shoot up a movie theater, killing 12 and wounding 70 others, and somehow be taken alive. Yet, a 12-year-old Black boy holding a toy gun in a park is shot to death by police officers within 2 seconds of the police officer's arrival. Black people recall civil rights activist Ella Baker's comment that the killing of Black men, Black mothers' sons, is not as important to white society as the killing of white men, white mothers' sons. Since this is true, Black parents teach their children, especially boys, exactly how to behave in an encounter with police, who are more likely to shoot them than they would be to shoot white boys. Black parents must tell their children that they can't assume the police are on their side. Doing this is utterly heartbreaking, but the alternative is worse. A young Black man who spends any time on the highway or in white areas will almost certainly have a run-in with the police, no matter how innocent, well-dressed, or wealthy he is. And Black parents can only hope their sons will survive. Black men shot to death by police officers for any reason, or no reason at all, will be described more negatively in the media than they would be if they were white mass murderers. Those of us who are white in America mostly have the luxury of ignoring these realities, but Black people don't. Over and over, the message is hammered into their heads. You don't matter. Your well-being doesn't matter, your life doesn't matter. We white people don't really care how well you do in life or whether you live. And until we who are white acknowledge these realities, our effectiveness as change agents is limited. So, what can white UUs do? First, we must be willing to be uncomfortable. Have I made you a little uncomfortable? Then we have to make a commitment to this particular arena of justice, not to the exclusion of other justice struggles, but as an important place to live on the side of love. Once we know that Blacks are treated as though their lives don't matter, we can focus on changing that equation. We can be part of the struggle to make Black lives matter more, though we can never be at its center. Here are some specific things we can do. We can educate ourselves about Black history and present-day reality through reading and other forms of learning. We can be in solidarity with people of color and believe them when they tell us about their lives. We can donate money to organizations that support Black flourishing. We can write letters to the editor that get people thinking. We can vote for politicians who acknowledge racial inequality and are committed to doing something about it. We can join organizations that address these issues, and we can develop church projects along these lines. We can educate other white people about the realities of racism and the opportunities of justice. Anything that we do invites more whites to be part of the solution is an act of living on the side of love. If you are already doing this work, and I know some of you are, may you be blessed in it. If you are ready to do it, may patience and courage be yours. And may we all be part of the building of a future in which, when we say, all lives matter, we are describing reality.
This has been a presentation of
the Mattatuck Unitarian Universalist Society,
honoring the earth and all that is.
Learn more at MUUSCT.org or come by any Sunday. All are welcome.